I'm living at home. I'm trying to save money. And it was really hard to kind of get it going. I was like, why is it not hitting? But I just never stopped. And I think the turning point was when I realized that all of the reaching I was doing, like reaching for people in the DMs, trying to get people to come, I wasn't giving that much love to like those 4 to 5 girls that were there every week, every single class. So the minute that my mind was like, let's just focus on who's here, they went and told their friends, and their friends went and told their friends. And that's when I started having people walk through the door that would be like, oh, Julie told me about you. Emma told me about you, because they felt so much love and they didn't feel like I was reaching. They felt like I was right there with them. So it started to scale truly word of mouth. Yes, I was obviously using Instagram and posting, but it was always like, I heard about you from a friend.
Learn how to start a business in your community with Launch Local Podcast, full of know-how and inspiration from successful small business owners, including your host, Amber Artemis. So, hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be sitting down today with Allie Cavanagh. She is the owner and founder of Inflow Studio, a wellness incubator located in the Fishtown neighborhood of Philadelphia. And she's been doing that for about going on 5 years now. Or maybe actually not. I don't know. When did you guys start?
Well, I have been doing this for 4 years, but it's a studio. The studio has been around for 1 year. We're about to celebrate June 10th. So I've been doing this model, but I really got the brick and mortar going a year ago.
A year ago. Okay. All right. So you've been practicing as a teacher of yoga and Pilates, is that correct?
Yeah,
For 5 years?
just about 5 years. Yeah, I started right around 2020 during the pandemic, and it was really just me. I was an individual teacher. I was going all over the city, hosting pop-ups, and that's the way I was building the community. And the community grew to be something so beautiful that I decided I would open a space. So that's kind of how that slowly came about.
So what is a pop-up event?
So essentially, I knew that I didn't want to work at a ton of studios because I wanted the freedom of creating my own schedule, and I was working a corporate job. So I figured if I can kind of pop up, and what I mean by that is hold classes randomly throughout the city at my own leisure, I'd be able to create a community so that maybe I could run retreats or just pop up on larger scales or pop up around the country. That was the original idea. So I would rent spaces. Or I have a joke that like I've taught at every single coffee shop and hair salon in Philadelphia, because I would reach out to anyone that would collaborate with me and give me their space, and then I could bring a group. And I would really use Instagram to kind of get myself out there. I would DM girls that I thought might be interested in something like this. I would get my friends on board and put links out there and charge people next to nothing and just try to get people in the door to take my class, because to them I was a nobody. So I knew I had to keep the cost down, and I had to do it frequently to create a sense of like, you should come back because we're doing it again. And it was challenging, but it snowballed. And when the snowball started happening is when I started thinking about ways I could make this bigger. And originally that meant, well, I'll just do retreats, and I'll do retreats all over the world, and I'll never really have to settle down. But that quickly became pretty tiring and overwhelming to just hold retreats of that caliber that often. And so I started looking at spaces, which I was hesitant about, but I found the perfect one. I knew I had to do it.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about scale a little bit. Like with your pop-ups, like what size was your average attendees at your events?
Oh my gosh, when I started, I was lucky if I got 3 people in that room. It was literally like I would spend, just to be so transparent because I'm always like that, I would probably rent a space for like $300, like a center city room that I found on Peerspace. I would beg people to come, and if they came, I would only charge them $10. And I was lucky if I would get like 3 to 6 people. So I was burning through money, but I had a corporate job. I was young, post COVID. I was living at home. Not even post COVID. We're still kind of in, it's a weird time. I'm living at home. I'm trying to save money. And it was really hard to kind of get it going. I was like, why is it not hitting? But I just never stopped. And I think the turning point was when I realized that all of the reaching I was doing, like reaching for people in the DMs, trying to get people to come. I wasn't giving that much love to like those 4 to 5 girls that were there every week, every single class. So the minute that my mind was like, let's just focus on who's here, they went and told their friends, and their friends went and told their friends. And that's when I started having people walk through the door that would be like, oh, Julie told me about you. Emma told me about you, because they felt so much love and they didn't feel like I was reaching. They felt like I was right there with them. So it started to scale truly word of mouth. Yes, I was obviously using Instagram and posting, but it was always like I heard about you from a friend, because I would be in like the weirdest locations. Like I started being like, all right, if I'm going to pop up more, I have to find cheaper places. So I'd find really cheap spots like warehouses and stuff like that, to bring girls, and they were dirty and oh my gosh, but it worked. People loved the class.
And like, so, I mean, those are some amazing points you made there. Like, I just want to like congratulate you for arriving at that epiphany naturally, like to like give the people that you have showing up more love and to learn from them, you know, what it is that you could be doing more of or better or whatever. Like, I think that's like an excellent way to grow like organically and naturally.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I mean, it's hard when you just can only see that future point. It's like I just want more people in class. I want it to be, oh gosh. Hi, Elsa.
Hi.
I want more people in class. I want it to be bigger and grander. Like, of course, I wanted that, but that was not working. So I knew that I needed to just focus on who was here. And I call them my warriors. I was like, when you focus on the people that are obsessed with you, even if it's 3 people, they're your warriors. They're free marketing. They're going to go out and tell everybody about you. Everyone.
That's really smart. Yeah. And like it feels good, like in your heart, you know, because really you're just like focused on providing the best experience that you can for the people that you have. And I think like, especially because you relied so heavily on Instagram to get the word out, you know, there's this temptation to like measure your self-worth or the worth of your business by the number of likes you get or hearts or whatever. And it's, you know, it's really at the end of the day about like who can you make a difference for in their lives and who's showing up for you in real life when you're a local business. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I am really curious, like, could you paint a picture of like what you were actually offering? Like what, like we're talking about pop-ups that you did. What services were you offering? What did those classes look like?
So it started one way and then it evolved. I started as just having the class itself, the 45 minutes Pilates only at the time. They would come just like a normal class. They would have to bring their mat because I had nothing. It would be 45-minute Pilates class. Sometimes I would like chat with the girls after. We might go grab dinner because we started to get close, but it was truly just that class. As I started to think about scaling and building, I knew I needed to create relationships with other business owners. And still in my head, I'm not like, I'm going to open a studio. That wasn't even here yet. It was just to expand, I need to be put up on higher platforms that you can only get yourself to a point, and then that's when collaboration is going to do the rest for you. So then I started reaching out to businesses. Like a big one that I worked with is the Wellness Refinery in Old City. Shout out to Ashley. She did not know me at all and took such a chance on me, and we would do a weekly pop-up there. She was a sauna and tonic bar, so I would do like a 40-minute flow downstairs. The girls would then go up and get their saunas for 15 minutes, and they would leave with a tea. So I started to do these collaborative experiences, or like I did one at a hair salon. And so then the girls would get a little goodie bag of hair product samples, and like 20% off their service at Sage was the salon, also in Old City. And then in the summer, I would pop up in parks at Sarah Green, and you would buy a ticket, and the ticket would say, this is for class, and then we're all going to Harp and Crown for brunch after. And this is how I started to create community, where you're buying a ticket for an experience. And not only are you creating community here with me, but you're also making friendships that will hopefully expand outside of this class. My goal is always, movement is great, meditation is great, but nothing's more nurturing than the friendships that are formed from going to these classes. And when I see the
Wow.
girls doing things together, that is my favorite thing. That's like the true test of community is, can we also hang out outside of the studio? Can we also hang out outside of class? So yeah, I definitely started with just classes, and then I was like, what else can we do? And then I did my first retreat to Tulum, and I knew I really built community when I launched that retreat because it sold out in like 10 minutes. And I knew that they wanted connection and they wanted it to be larger.
Wow. Yeah, that's all just so powerful. I mean, really like amplifying your impact by seeing everything as this experience, that you're creating, and the ultimate goal being community. It's just really powerful. It's amazing, Allie. And then so I think it's just like a natural extension that you eventually decided to find a home. Like
Yeah,
a,
and
like
again,
like a
I was like
permanent one.
everyone was like, you need a studio, you need a studio. And I was very preachy about the fact that I would never open a studio. There were a few things. I truthfully had a fear of commitment to a city, although I have like never left Pennsylvania, so that's pretty funny for an extended period of time, that is. I was afraid of losing what I thought would be losing freedom. So this was the fear. The fear was that if I opened a studio, I would be at the studio every single day. I would lose the ability to go on vacations. And these are all just limiting beliefs we tell ourselves because we're afraid of expansion. That's what that is. We're afraid of having to see ourselves up level because our nervous systems really hate the unknown. It makes us go into overdrive, even if that unknown is a heaven. So I forget who said this quote, but there's a quote that's like, the nervous system prefers a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So in my mind, I'm like, well, at the time, I'm still working corporate. I'm like, I'm working corporate and I'm doing this and it's so much and I'm so overwhelmed, but at least I know it. At least
Hmm.
this is the same routine every single day. Whereas leaving that job and trying to open a space and do something that feels so unknown but could be amazing feels worse to my nervous system. So I held off and I held off and I held off. And then eventually I came home from a retreat and I had this realization that I needed to at least leave my current job and pursue teaching. So I did that. It was the hardest thing I've done, is leaving that job. Like, you're really in the golden handcuffs. And I truly was. It was also kind of funding the business.
And
I left that job, jumped.
what year was that? Just to
That
kind of paint like an
was,
arc of your timeline here.
oh my gosh, was it 2023? I left that job in, I want to say 2023. It might have been 2022. Isn't that horrible that I don't
No,
know?
it's hard. It's all a blur, especially with all the changes that were going on in the world at that time.
There was
And
so much. Either 20, I only worked that job for, I almost worked there for 2 years. So I want to say it was 2023 that I left that job.
you
I
started
left that job in,
teaching
yeah,
in 2020. Sorry, you became certified to teach Pilates and yoga in 2020?
just Pilates in 2020. Yoga comes much later. Like, yoga comes, everything else. Pilates was riding me forever, but I grew up doing yoga. So I infused everything with yoga. Like, a lot of people just assume that I'm a yoga teacher and that's it because of the way that I teach. I'm very, very like yogic minded. So 2023, I left that job, and I, for a whole year, because I opened to the studio in 2024. So a whole year, I did not have the studio and I was just popping up. And in my head, I'm like, should I start working at studios? Like, I was getting a little financially insecure. I'm like, what do I do here? But I just stuck to my guns. I worked at one studio, which is the Sanctuary Wellness Studio in Flowertown. And it was right near my corporate job. So it really worked for me. And when I left that job, I still taught there. And then I ended up leaving that studio. But yeah, I made it work. And as the months went by, I started to think to myself, am I just going to do this pop up thing forever? Is this really going to be what I do forever? Am I just going to go to other people's spaces and figure it out? Or am I going to give all these people, because now the community is quite large, or am I going to give all of these people a place to come together? And so I started looking, and still I was hesitant, right? Like, I'm looking, but I'm not totally 100% this is happening. But when my space was shown to me, I knew that it had to work. That was shown to me November 2023. I signed the lease. It took so long, so many negotiations. I signed the lease May 2024. We opened June 2024. So it was very fast. It all happened like from signing that lease to opening, it was like just a push.
When you decided to, find a home for your services and you have this track record of collaboration, who did you bring with you into this space? Because you're calling this a wellness incubator. Like what is a wellness incubator? A and
Everybody
B,
asked.
like like who did you how did it start out? Like who showed up with you when you opened your doors?
Yeah, everybody asks that. What is that? And I love that question because it's like, what does that mean? I've never heard that before. So I thought to myself when I was opening the studio that I was going to be solely a pop up model for people that have a gift that they want to share and don't know where to go. I wanted to be the space that I needed for myself. I was going to create and fill in that gap because it's not like I was the only person popping up. I was just the only person, I think, that was doing it at such a consistency that I was basically a full studio on my own. But I knew there were other people doing sound baths, breath work, and working with other people. So that was the original idea. But as I started to carve out the schedule, I thought, okay, what if I was a full operating studio and I had yoga and I had Pilates and I had meditation? But then I also intentionally worked in time for people from outside of the studio to come in and do their offering. However, that offering would be included for our members. So we call it a wellness incubator because if you're a member, you get the workshops too. So, like, you're really getting this experience of wellness that goes far beyond moving on your mat. You're getting all of it because we all know the typical structure is I have a membership and the workshops I pay extra for, and I maybe get like a discount if I'm a member at a studio. But I was very set on the idea that they would be included for members, any workshop that's under 2 hours. And I really have done that. And it's working. And it's giving facilitators that are new a platform. So when I opened, there was a select number of facilitators that I knew just from like moving around Philly that would be part of it. Some of them being like my friend Kyle, who does sound baths, my friend Sam, who does breath work, my friend Sarah, who also does breath work and works with, I think you may have met her, sexuality and sensuality. I knew there were people that were going to be part of it, but I could not have imagined how many people would want to share. I probably get 10 to 15 emails a day of new facilitators that want to bring their thing. And yes, it's hard to make space for everyone, but we make it work and we schedule out really far. And everyone gets a chance to try their thing, and the community is there for them. They don't have to be begging people in the DMs to come. I've already got the people. So hopefully the people experience you and then you are being followed. I hope that they go. I hope my members go and follow that sound bath person at other places that they go. That's really the idea. I built myself up through collaboration. So I knew when I opened that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be as successful as I could be. And then my teachers came naturally as well. A lot of them worked at other studios. Some of them didn't. Some of them I knew. Some of them I didn't know. But I started to spread the word that I was looking for teachers and looking to build a schedule, and it happened pretty naturally.
Yeah, so full disclosure, and you mentioned I may have met one of your other teachers. I attended an event at your space. It's only been, I think, 3 months ago now that you came into my world. And I attended this amazing spring equinox event that was an ecstatic dance. So that's a sober dance, right? It was an hour-long dance with all these beautiful women in this amazing brick space in Fishtown with these giant windows that let in lots of light and these exposed beams. So it's got this like old industrial feel. It's just like such an interesting vibe. And it was all adorned with like flowers. And my friend Sarah Petrick, who's been on the podcast, actually, she's the one who brought me to this event. She invited me to come because she was doing flowers for the event. And after this dance, we had a meal, and it was catered by a woman that I've since connected with to try to like help bring a healthier diet into my family's life, because it was a vegan meal that was just so delicious and delightful and full of surprises that I was like, I need more of this in my life. And you mentioned before about one of your experiences, like a gift bag. Like there was a CBD gummy in the gift bag, and I now subscribe to that lady's CBD gummies because they're amazing. And and she's actually agreed to be on the podcast too, so I can't wait to interview her about her business. But it's working. I am living proof that it's working, and now I feel like such a part of your community, Allie. But I didn't get to meet you until this past event that I decided to attend to just see what else was going on there. It was sort of like an open house event last month, and there was vendors, people who are making jewelry and providing other services and crafts. And I was able to go and meet them and make new connections. And it's just such a lovely organic blossoming of a community, that we share these interests. Why stay siloed when we can cross pollinate and support one another, and hopefully all thrive together. Not just as business people, but like in our lives. Like you said, like your model is so much more inclusive than what we're used to, as far as like joining a Pilates or yoga studio. Like we stay siloed as practitioners, and there's really no reason to do that. And it just seems like just such a lovely revolutionary thing. So simple yet.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
know. Well, when I was telling, thank you so much for saying that, first of all. That means a lot to me because the idea really was that there's so much room for everyone. I do not subscribe to the idea that two yoga studios next to each other even can't be successful. I just don't think that's true. Wendy's is next to McDonald's and they both make money. Like
Yeah.
I just
We
think
need more yoga.
like I seriously think if there was one on every corner, like life would be great. And I think that exploring everything and everyone and every teacher is so important. My mission really is to just uplift anyone that is trying to share their gift with a purpose of service and show their art. And if I can do that even like a few times a week, I am very, very happy with myself. And I'm glad that you were able to go to that event because a lot of my favorite people were at that specific event. And a lot of different women came together to make that what it was and to make it cohesive and to make it conversational, which I heard that it was. There were a lot of beautiful conversations happening at that table. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that having such a community driven space, they don't really exist fully in the way that and I'm still working to make it better every day. How can I make it better? How can I do more? How can I offer more? It's an evolving thing. It's an evolving thing.
Yeah. So, okay. Like I have like businessy type questions. Okay. Like I wonder like how it's governed, the space. And I wonder like how, it seems like a substantial part of the value of being a teacher there is to be able to gain access to a market for your other services or products outside of an event, which I 110% recommend that all local business people treat events as a marketing opportunity to begin a relationship outside of that event, and don't miss that opportunity. So like even if they're only making a nominal amount at that event, seeing that event as a marketing opportunity, and then building on that relationship with the people that you manage to connect with at that event, which is what you described earlier, adds value. But I'm wondering like,
Mm-hmm.
how is it governed there, and how do people get paid? So if I'm a yoga teacher, which someday I hope to be. But it's somewhere on the to-do list. Um, and if I'm a yoga teacher and I was offering classes regularly at your studio, like so logistically here, like your members, like they pay a flat membership fee and they can come to my class. And like how would I be paid? And do we also have like a non-member road to participation as well?
Yeah, so great question. And I think a lot of people don't know that the business operates as a full normal yoga studio and as a workshop space separately. So I have a full yoga studio with teachers, just like any other yoga studio, where every single teacher has their own rate and they are contractors of the business. We are in a group chat together. They don't lead, like we're all together as a normal operating yoga studio. So all of the yoga and Pilates teachers make their typical class fee the same that they would at other competing studios in the area. Nothing out of the ordinary there. The workshops are different. So nobody is coming in and just teaching a sole 60-minute vinyasa class as a workshop. In order to be a workshop, there has to be a little bit of a different element. Now, if you want to teach yoga, you could do an audition with me and be a sub or be on the schedule. But let's say you want to teach a 60-minute vinyasa and then there's like journaling and I'm just popping up one time this month. That's a workshop. And workshops are structured differently. So members can go to it. And then, of course, also anybody can drop in. I make it very clear with workshop people. We meet one on one, just like you and I are doing, that the studio is not meant to be your moneymaker. It can be, but it's more of an opportunity for you. Some people walk away with a lot of money. Some people walk away with a good amount, right? Like a good amount. Maybe they would have liked to make more, but the point is for you to get a leg up in building your community. Most of the people that are doing workshops have maybe only done one workshop ever or none. Some of them are repeaters, and you can see as they start to repeat and come back, they have more drop ins. I give the facilitators 70% of their drop ins, which I think is a really lovely, generous split just from my history doing pop ups. It's usually not like that. They're aware that they have another option, which could be they rent the space for me from X amount an hour. They handle the tickets, they handle the marketing, they handle everything themselves, and they make all the money that they get from that. The reason most people don't choose that is because they want access to our audience. They want to be on my sandwich board, they want to be on the Instagram, they want to be in the newsletter, they want me to talk about them in class. Like, there's so much that we do to give everybody a platform and to be known, that doing one workshop and maybe not making hundreds and hundreds of dollars is so much more valuable than trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of the way that it works. A lot of people told me it would not work when I was like talking about it, and it works perfectly.
And you're the sole owner of Inflow Studio?
I am the sole owner. I have a wonderful studio manager, Rhea, who you probably saw running around that day at the community event. She is lovely. She is responsible for a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that people see in terms of the studio staying clean and making sure that the women that come and help us clean the studio are like on their schedule and on top of things. She's usually the person getting back to people on those general inquiry emails. She's like my right hand woman. She's doing social media. Then we have Carmen, who is the community director. So, for example, the community day you went to, that was like all her. She organized all of that. She sourced the vendors. She was in communication. She does a lot of my graphics. She does my newsletter. She's fostering the community. So there's the three of us that are really like the tag team that you see that makes Inflow what it is. But I am the sole owner. Yeah.
Okay. And this is your only job now? Like is this your, so it sustains you. It meets all of your financial needs.
It totally sustains me, meets all of my financial needs. The only other thing that I do for a little extra money is social media. So I'm on TikTok. I do pretty well on TikTok. I enjoy doing that. But besides that, that's this is all I do.
And when you say you're on social media, like monetizing your own content or like helping other people?
Monetizing my own content.
Okay,
So I
cool.
post on TikTok. I do little Pilates arm series that are 3 minutes long. And it honestly started as like this little funny thing that I would do at my office desk chair that I one day thought, let me just film this. And then I left corporate and I kept doing them. But they took off overnight. I didn't start doing TikTok with the idea of making money because at the time that I started, that really wasn't a thing yet. I mean, people were, but it was like these bigger influencers. And now anyone can join the creator fund and make money. You know, if you have a video that goes off, you can make some money. And by no means could that sustain me, but it does give me a little extra fun money.
Yeah, it's a nice little side hustle.
Yeah,
What's
it's a nice side hustle.
what's your handle so we can check out your TikTok?
Same thing, in flow with Allie.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Delicious elderberry wine, fresh and healthy elderberry syrup, crisp ciders, all available 7 days a week at Wild Elder Wine and Cider Company, 76 Broadway in Jim Thorpe, specializing in regional folk wines and ciders just like your grandparents used to make. Elderberry, blueberry, raspberry, blackberry, apple. Now serving lunch too. That's Wild Elder Wine and Cider Company, 76 Broadway in Jim Thorpe. Open every day 11 till 5. Also available online at wildelder.com.
That's awesome. I would like to know more about you, Allie, as an individual. Like, where are you located? We just kind of dove right in, and you're amazing, by the way. Just like I could just tell, like, holy cow, this gal has like clarity of vision and focus and drive. Like, you just, and I don't know, like, if it's all that Pilates
Oh
then
my gosh, thank you. That's
that
so
fuels
funny that you say
you.
that.
But you have just such a lovely energy and clarity. It's great. Can I borrow some, please?
Oh my Wait, that's super nice. They're super nice because I am very like confident in my decisions, and I'm confident in what in my vision and what I want to do, but that's not to say that there's definitely behind the scenes conversations of, my insecurity, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? A little bit of imposter syndrome, but I know I'm in my dharma, and when you're in your dharma, you're living your purpose. You like can't make the wrong decision. And I always lean back on that. I think the reason that I come off that way is, and this is going to like annoy some people, but really my meditation practice. When I meditate every single morning, I am washed over with such an intense clarity for what it is that I want in my life and what it is that I'm creating, that nothing can get in my way of that. And I always joke that I wear two hats. Like I have my hat of showing up and being in connection and teaching, but then I also have my business hat. And when I have my business hat on, I'm not showing up to the board meeting with my hands in prayer. Like I'm getting it done. And that's my sales background coming out. Like I'm able to also turn on that side of me that gets things done. It's it's true that like your favorite yoga teacher, probably not all of them could be the best studio owner. It's just like the best soccer player might not be the best soccer coach. It takes a special personality, and I do think I innately have that organized, driven, vision forward, able to delegate but also maintain a level of control. That it's hard to acquire that. It's possible, but I think I do have that innately, and I shut it down for a long time. But I really wasn't that great of an employee. I just work better when I can lay out the vision and then have the right team. But in terms of where I live, I'm from the Philadelphia suburbs. I grew up there. I went to Penn State. I was such a Pennsylvania girl. I always said I would leave. I went to Spain for a little bit, but I did obviously come back during COVID from Spain, and now I live in Fishtown. I'm a 5-minute walk from my studio. It's fabulous. I love it. I'm just far enough and I'm just close enough. And yeah, I have two kitties that you saw one of them. I live like a very chaotic and peaceful and fun life. I love to travel because I've always been in Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Cool. Well, I getting back to your personal, like, I think your mindset, your worldview. Do you have like any recommendations for people who might want to try to cultivate something similar for themselves? Like, who's been a big influence on you?
totally. I think having mentors and people you look up to are the greatest source of encouragement. I have so many mentors in my life that I have leaned on for a long, long time. I always look to someone, and we call them expanders. I'm sure you've heard that word many times. Like, I always look to someone, and they don't necessarily need to be older than me, that is doing something that I want to do or has an element to their being that I want to have. And I will do what I can to get, in a non creepy way, close to that person's aura. So whether that's in person or even on this thing on social media, trying to consume the content of people that bring me joy. Like one thing that I never did that I tell everyone that I think this will be the detriment to your business and your drive. Like I don't follow any Pilates teachers on Instagram really, or Pilates studios. I don't. And it's not that I don't respect them, care about them. I like to see what people are up to, but being in my own lane has helped me get things done. Being in my own lane and then relying on my mentors to help guide more business decisions or even to guide personal life decisions. Like, this is overwhelming. When you went through this, did you decide to step back or did you hire someone to help you? Those are always great conversations. And then in terms of mindset, Louise Hay, are you familiar with Louise Hay?
No.
Fabulous meditation teacher, author. She has since passed. I love her. I consume all of her content. I meditate to her weekly. Her book, You Can Heal Your Life, changed my life and my mindset completely. It's about stepping out of the role as a victim and getting things done. And the reason it was so helpful is because I think we look a lot at a lot of people that are doing what we want to be doing, and we think, oh, well, they must have had help, or did their parents pay for it, or and we just create all of these excuses as to why it could never be us. There's just no way it could be us, that we wouldn't be able to achieve that. They had to have, and for some people maybe they did, but I think you'd be surprised at how many people really are self-built. And when you're finally able to step out of the why her, not me, or she can and I couldn't, you step into like a level of belief in yourself that gets you to a point of like, there's no way that I'm not going to do this now, because I'm so confident that it's going to work that I have to at least try.
Yeah. What's the worst that
So I
could
love
happen?
Louise Hay.
I like to ask
What's
myself
the
that.
worst that could happen?
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? And then, if you have a real fear there, like a legitimate concern, like, so what? Like, what would you do next? How would you work through
Yeah,
that? It's all figure outable.
exactly. And you know what? If it wasn't scary to do this stuff, everybody would do it. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, it should not feel easy. If it feels easy, you waited way too long. You waited way too
Should
long.
have been doing it sooner. Yeah.
Yep. If it feels so easy, you should have launched this thing a long time ago. Because another thing about me is I'm just obsessed with the building phase. People always say like I love the chaos. Even if I seem super stressed out, I secretly love it. Like I just like to know that things are like on the precipice and they're coming and we're building and then I build it and it's here and then I get stagnant and I'm like, "Oh, well, what now? What should I do now?" And when you experience it once or twice, you start to prove to yourself that you can do it. And that's when you start to see people really take off, because fear isn't even that scary anymore. The actual concept of fear is there, but the fear itself is so much easier to move through because you've proven to yourself that you can do it.
And how do you deal with like that stagnation? If like, because you've said that you're somebody who really enjoys the energy of starting. I feel that way too, and it's one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I get to live vicariously through others starting. And I wonder if that you have that similar effect as an incubation space, that you get to live vicariously through others growing their business and help them along the way. And at the same time, it comes back to help grow your business. It's like this great reciprocation. But like, how do you deal with that
Totally.
stagnation?
I have a few takes on that. Well, first to acknowledge your point about the incubator space. Yes, I love seeing the new people come in that are starting, because sometimes I feel like I'm just getting started, and I kind of am. But I love it. I even have a mentorship program that I do where I work with like a few girls for 3 months at a time, and I get to really watch them like make that Instagram account. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna follow it and I can't wait to see you post, and we're getting started. And I love that. But when I'm stagnant, there's a few things. I need to tell myself it's okay. You can also be stagnant and enjoy. Because when I'm really stressed, I am also, while I like it, I'm also begging for free time. And I'm like, oh, I'm way too busy. I'm way too stressed. So, okay. When I'm stagnant, I try to remind myself, create that space to do the things that you enjoy that you do not need to monetize. I love to paint. So I will do my creative things like painting.
Oh my
I will
gosh.
go get in the cold plunge or the sauna, or just read my book and relax. The things that I'm like begging to be doing when I'm busy, I try to turn to those things because I know that the next chaotic period is a few miles ahead, and I know that I'm going to get that again. So
Yeah.
why not I think
Enjoy
part
the
of the reason it's
time.
hard.
Live. I had
Live.
I had a friend. I honestly just got a little goosebumps over here. I feel things sometimes. like like ideas or like serendipity, like I just
Yeah.
I feel it. And I was on a hike this weekend with a friend who was, she's a really high achieving woman, and she's doing great. She's really at like her peak game, like in her career, and like her chief, like chief earning potential, whatever. And she's feeling like she needs to start something new. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what aren't you doing in your life? Like, are you happy? And like, what do you wish you were doing more of? Like, do you need to make more money, or do you need? And her answer was paint. She was like, I think I want to paint. Like, and just spend more time doing the like something that she doesn't need to monetize. Like, you can, like, as an entrepreneur type of person, you can get caught up in that, like thinking of like, you have to do like, and it's our society. It's all deep seated. We're measuring our self-worth by our earning potential and thinking we need a bigger and earn more. And it's like sometimes this is just a recipe for disaster. Um, and like you said, I believe things go in cycles. And when you have that low period, don't think you need to busy yourself. And it's tempting for us people who have lots of ideas and energy, like to go off and start something new. And sometimes you need that pause and maybe just spend a
Yeah.
little more time enjoying the things that are not about making money.
I agree. Well, it's the total productivity complex. And even with my painting, someone was like, I would love to buy this painting from you. And my mind was like, just give it to them for free. Don't take yourself down this path. You love to do this for fun and you'll continue doing it for fun. Like you don't need to, because you're right. When you're an entrepreneur, your mind is always in that mode of how can I do, make, achieve more. So when I'm stagnant, I try to lean into those things. I try to also, and you'll be able to relate to this from doing startups, when you're really starting something, what kind of goes first, unfortunately, is cultivating relationships, friendships, partnership, family. That's kind of the first thing that you have to push down because you're in work mode. When I opened the studio, a lot of my friendships were just strained. Even like partnership gets a little bit strained. Like it doesn't break, but it gets strained. Some of them do break, but they strain. So when it's stagnant, I am constantly reaching out to my friends. Want to get lunch, want to go out, want to go to happy hour, let's go on a weekend trip because I know, like I said, miles ahead is the next chaos. So let's nurture. And when that chaos happens, I can invite them in, but know that it's okay to not be reaching out. It's okay to kind of seem like a hermit. You're in a building phase. And then the next slow period, you come back out and you enjoy and you bring them along for the ride, but you can't take anything personally during that time. There's a lot of stuff that I stopped getting invited to. And it's just what it is. It's just what it
Yeah.
is, and it comes back around. But that's being an entrepreneur. Again, I'm sure you can relate to, and I know my other friends we talk about this that own businesses. Like there are a lot of lonely lulls. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of late nights. And it doesn't have to be. There's plenty of nights where I am
Yes.
out all night with my friends. Like I tell people, I'm like, owning a business, don't let anyone tell you that it's going to take all your time away. I actually have more freedom than I've ever had in my life. But there's cycles. So there are times where like, it's up to you. Are you going to like buckle down? Like, are you going to do it? Because you can't always, it's not always a reliance game. But there's plenty of time where I went to Morocco for 16 days and I had a whole team working, helping me be able to live this lifestyle while I'm gone. When I was
Hmm.
working corporate or even popping up, I could never have done that. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important, like, that we don't succumb to the glorification of sacrificing yourself for your business. And like I've given like it's really good advice, I think, to not pay too much attention sometimes to the people that are in the same lane as you. But like I'm stepping into a business coaching mentorship role myself, and I follow Alex Hermosi. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mm-mm.
Anyway,
I'm like, no, that's wait, Amber, like everyone says to me, you don't know who anyone is. I'm like, guys, I know. I don't know who anyone is
it
because
it's
I
by
know my
design.
personality.
Yeah.
There's people that can like this might be you. You might consume that and be like, oh, I'm energized, but I consume that and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm lame. I'm late. I know my mindset. So like it's by design.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to criticize him, but his brand is, go hard basically. and and occasionally like I offer a different perspective on his thoughts, and I get some traction in the comments of people saying like, "Yeah, we like having friends and it's okay to prioritize them." And remember that like having a social life is an important part of being happy, and to build that in.
I
Like,
completely agree.
yeah, and you can do it cyclically, ideally, so that it doesn't fall off the table. And you give yourself permission to step away from some of those relationships when you know it's like your time to go hard. Like, because there are
Right.
seasons to every business.
I always say like I buckled down and worked so hard for those few months or that half of a year so that now I can have years of like guilt-free freedom and choice. Not everyone's willing to sacrifice even that much time for the like light on the other side. Like you
Yeah.
kind of have to climb up that mountain because the view is beautiful. You get to do things, you get to make choices. You built the structure. As long as you're willing when needed to buckle down, I don't allow people to like fear monger that owning a business is going to suck your life
Yeah,
away.
ruin your
I
life.
think that
Right. Yeah, I agree.
that's so damaging. And like you said, it glorifies our already super westernized hustle culture. Like just I am so with you. We totally are eye to eye on that.
Yeah, and I think as far as like that startup phase goes, like there's a lot of learning and growth that takes place during that time. And it is really important for you to give it your full attention and to not step away because like you have to learn a lot of hard lessons and pivot and adapt potentially. And and I still keep that mindset going forward. Like whenever we hit a challenge, I'm like, what do we have to learn from this? And then
You
keeping
have to, yeah.
yeah. So it's important to I do think, to go hard early. But
And there's so many times I tell myself like I do have a little bit of this luck on my side because I found my stride and my love at a very young age. So for me, there was less, I knew if I waited, it would be harder because maybe I would have children.
Mhm.
Maybe I would be married. Maybe I would own a home. Right now, I'm like, okay, when I open the studio, I'm like, all right, I'm 25. I have no kids. I have no one else to support financially except me and I'm renting this apartment. If I'm not going to do it now and I think my life is going to change structurally that makes it easier, I'm crazy. Let me jump off the cliff and remember that corporate's not going anywhere. I can always go back to that. You almost have to debate yourself. I debate myself constantly. I rationalize with myself constantly, almost conversationally in order to like
Move
be
forward.
confident in that. Just, yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, we do have to wrap up in just a couple minutes. And I mean, I'm glad you said a little bit more about yourself. I mean, I I was wondering how young you were.
I'm
Uh,
26 currently.
Okay. And did you go to college?
I went to Penn State.
Oh,
I
that's right.
studied
You mentioned that.
Spanish.
But I was wondering what your degree was. Okay.
I was going to be a lawyer and then my plan was, oh, I'll move to Spain and I was going to teach English to students there. And that like, I like went to Spain, I did the whole thing and then COVID happened. And you know what? Many people say that COVID was the greatest, worst thing that ever happened because I think it really showed people truly what they wanted. And that time in my life was very revealing. A lot was revealed to me emotionally, spiritually, being able to admit what it was that I really wanted. So I'm totally going a different direction. But you know what? When I host retreats, my Spanish comes in handy.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't go to Costa Rica recently, did you? Was that I heard about a
It's
retreat that Sarah was on.
Oh no, Sarah was on a different retreat. I just hosted in Tulum and I'll go back to Tulum. And then I was in Joshua Tree. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So, I mean, honestly, like we could have like a whole other hour just talking about like how to host a retreat. Like that's something that
I know.
I aspire to do someday. I live in Jim Thorpe, and it's this beautiful little mountain Victorian town that's a tourist destination. And someday, I think I'd like to gather people here and create a retreat like experience. A friend of mine who had a yoga studio, I used to help out. I would do like guided walks for people that were on her retreat, and it worked. There's a market for it. Like people love to come to our town. But yeah, like maybe we can continue the conversation at some point. You could
Oh,
share
totally. I
what you
also
learned.
like I just launched a whole retreat consulting facet to my business because
Hey.
I've been really successfully doing retreats for 3 years now. Like just I feel like I have a really lovely formula. So if any people listening or watching this are interested in just talking about hosting retreat, that is so my bread and butter.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're a mentor, so you offer those services to people?
I have a true mentorship program, so that is like it's free. I do not charge people. Like I always say, if you're charging people, you're not a mentor, you're coaching.
Mhm.
Mentorship is truly like it's free, and I'm here to help you and mentor you. So usually I do that by like someone will just email me. I don't really advertise that. It's like someone emails me, they want mentorship. We work together for 3 months. It's very structured, and then you flap your wings and fly, and I'm always here for you. But yeah.
How did you come up with the structure for your mentorship?
It really was just like through repetition. It started with one of my friends who wanted to do something similar to me. And it wasn't even like I wasn't even calling it mentorship. I just was sort of mentoring her. And it was working really well. And we started having these weekly calls. And then I started planning activities and I started giving her homework. And over time, I just created a loose structure and I adjust it based on who I'm working with because it's not all fitness people, right? It's really like anyone that wants to start their own thing. I'm happy to work with men, women, I work with everyone. And so it really is custom, but loosely it's, laying out their goals, where they want to go in the process, in the weeds, starting to see their ideas change, their perspective change in real
Yeah.
time, noticing. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah, and it's like really gratifying like when you can point out like limiting beliefs. Like you mentioned that early on in the talk. Like sometimes just the most important question you can ask somebody is why? Like
Hmm.
why do you think that?
Totally.
Like and then they'll realize like, "Oh, I don't have to think that. That's not the truth." You know what I mean? And it's
I
like
literally have an exercise like that where it's like, is this 100% true? 100.
mhm.
And they always are like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Okay. Well, it has just been amazing to talk with you, and I want to respect your time. I know you have another call to get on, and thank you so much for carving this hour out to be with me and everyone who might happen to be listening to this someday. And let's keep in touch. I'm so excited to see you grow at Inflow Studio in Fishtown, and I can't wait to come to the next cool event that you have, the cool experiences that you plan there.
Thank you, Amber. I'm so grateful and honored to have been invited and to chat with you. It was so lovely, and it kind of like, reminded me of my purpose. So that's always useful. Yeah, thank you
Yay!
so much.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Launch Local is an original podcast produced and recorded by Amber Artemis at Leisure Lane Studio in Jim Thorpe, PA. Show music is by Joshua Finsel. This is a video podcast available for viewing on YouTube or at the show website, launchlocal.biz, where you can subscribe to the show newsletter and find helpful tools like the Ready to Launch quiz. Take the quiz at launchlocal.biz to see if you're ready to launch your own local business.